everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Jedi Way. I am the outlaw John Rocha, but always for the Jedi Way, I am Rocha Fett, and very happy to be back together again with my co-host of the show here. She is also the co-host of Force Toast Pod. She is known throughout the galaxy for her Star Wars knowledge. The great Laura Kelly. How are you, Laura?
I'm doing amazing, John. I'm so excited to be here with you and Michael. I am sorry if I'm having internet issues. You guys are jumping a little bit for me, which is probably not a good sign for how things are going to go tonight, but fingers crossed. I'm doing amazing. I'm really excited to talk about this. This was such a surprise. It was such a surprise that we got a Bad Batch trailer and a date and episode titles and like out of nowhere. So perfect. I loved it. Or maybe you two knew it was coming. I don't know. I had no idea.
I had no idea either, and we'll go to our third member of this panel here, who is happily took on the mantle to come on and be our special guest for today, because unfortunately Kevin Smets is out sick, but he is the co-host of the Geek Buddies. He is an animator, he is a writer, executive producer, showrunner, currently on Strawberry Shortcake, my good friend here, and a Star Wars enthusiast, Michael Vogel. How are you, Michael?
I'm good. I got very excited when the music for Jedi Way came on. I felt like I was walking into Galaxy's Edge. I was very, got me in the mood. I'm very stoked. And thank you for having me on. I was just saying before we started that I miss the days of our Geek Buddies Star Wars reviews with Laura Kelly. And I'm excited to come here and talk Star Wars with the two of you. So thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely, man. We're looking forward to it. As Laura kind of prefaced already, we are definitely going to talk about the Bad Batch Season 3 trailer. We're going to break that thing down, talk about what we got shown in that trailer, speculate on what we might be getting here in Season 3 in terms of storylines, in terms of characters, what we're going to get more, how the Empire is going to tie in, how these stories are going to tie in to the overall Star Wars landscape as well. And then on the back half, we'll talk about this fantastic ScreenRant article here that was that talked about what are the possibilities of certain characters popping up in season 2 of Ahsoka. Ahsoka season 2 has been announced in essence, so we'll speculate on who we think might be showing up here throughout those episodes of Ahsoka season 2. It's all Star Wars all the time now, it seems like. So here we go. 4 theatrical movies on the horizon. The Acolyte's still coming. Skeleton Crew still coming. Apparently a 4th season of Mandalorian supposedly still in the works. And of course, as we said, Ahsoka season 2, we shall see. But the Bad Batch is where we're at here. The Bad Batch season 3 trailer. Laura, a lot happened in this trailer. We got some shots of Omega, both what looks like season 2 and this current season. Crosshair clearly still suffering from what happened at the end of season 2. We get shades of what happened to Tech at the end of season 2. The 3 guys coming together, Hunter, Wrecker, and Echo here to try to rescue Omega and Dr. Hemlock. We get Fennec Shan, we get Cad Bane, and we get the Emperor, of course, Palpatine rolling through all of this. So your thoughts overall on this trailer before we break it down piece by piece?
I'm very excited because I think the biggest thing that I noticed right off the bat is that we have a very clear direction this season. And this is my big criticism of season 2 is that we were just kind of on like a mission to mission, week to week, just kind of flying by the seat of our pants. Lots of the episodes I feel like were kind of, or could have been like sort of standalone. And so we're very much like, there's very much like a clear road ahead, I think, with this season, where there's very clear objectives that they are trying to accomplish. There's a big sort of overall mission involved. And so I'm kind of excited to get back to that because we had that in season 1. I felt like it was missing from season 2. So I'm happy to be back in sort of that headspace for season 3. I think that's the biggest thing that stood out to me, except for, of course, the very end, which we can get into later, I assume. But there was a scream out loud in the middle of the afternoon, like during my lunch break while I'm watching this trailer thinking, oh, great, yay, Bad Batch, that's cool. Explosive ending. I can't wait to get into it with you guys.
Yeah, I had the same. I did a trailer reaction for this one, and I had the same reaction in live time. Which, if anybody wants to watch it, you can go watch me with my mouth wide open, going, "Wait, what? How is that possible?" And we will get into that for sure. The big reveal there at the end of the trailer. Michael, your thoughts overall on this trailer? Some war scenes here, a lot darker than we've seen the Bad Batch be, as Laura said in season 2. It was a much more of a mission of the week type of thing, and then towards the back half of the season, we finally got into the nitty-gritty of what was going on here, and that seems to have carried over into this season 3 trailer. What did you think overall in this trailer, Michael?
I mean, I don't know. Season 2 had some pretty dark moments, but I do agree that it does seem like we have some direction. And I'm kind of with Laura. I think this is sort of I enjoy Bad Batch a lot, and as this chapter of the Star Wars universe, I think it's great. I really do think the characters are a lot of fun. But in general, and I mean, this bleeds into a lot of the complaints that some fans have had about Ahsoka as well. It does seem like Filoni's style of storytelling is, let's give you a little bit and promise a lot more later. And I think Bad Batch has always suffered from, there was a lot of excitement, and then it was like, all right, let's get up and go.
Right.
Nope. Okay, it's an episode of the week. Let's get up and go. Nope. Okay, you're running another mission. Okay, this is the one where you get up and go. Okay, no, we're just stuck on a planet and we need some food. And like, there's sort of is like there's this big story about the clones and what happened to the clones and the transition of the clones into the stormtroopers and the beginnings of this rebellion and Rex over here doing his thing. And it just feels like we're getting ready for the third and final season, and we're like, okay, maybe now we're finally going to get up and go, which isn't the best thing that you want in a series. That being said, hopefully we're going to get some get up and go here. It does seem like, okay, we've got Mount Tantus, we've got Omega trapped, we've got Crosshair there, we've got a final mission. We kind of can extrapolate where we're going to end up because we know, like, the Bad Batch themselves, where they end up, kind of anybody's guess. But like, we know where Rex is going to go. We know in general what's going to happen with the Empire and the Rebellion. We know that Palpatine somehow returns. So, I mean, we have some key pieces of where we know we're going to end up. But I just really hope that this final season, they let loose and we just get a wild fucking ride that just is like a slingshot sending us through these episodes.
Yeah, that's what I felt watching the trailer. I was like, this is awesome. This is the Bad Batch I've been waiting for since season 1, to be honest with you. This is the Bad Batch. These kind of hard-ass missions, this crazy war sequences here, that tank on the bridge with all those missiles flying off of it, ships exploding, death-defying stunts. I wanted all of that. And also this intrigue of what's going on with Omega there in Mount Tantus. What does Hemlock want here? Oh, and by the way, Omega has a sister, which we found out in season 2. So what's the story there? So there's a lot of mystery involved with these awesome action sequences. And you might be right, Mike. Maybe they heard the complaints about season 2, as Laura alluded to, and we're like, well, we got to come out with a banger season 3 trailer that's going to get people like excited that this is going to be an awesome series. And then when we start to watch it, we may get into the same situation here, Mike, where it's like, well, we got to find the suitcase in this lake of alligators or something.
It's like, guys, let's get to it. No MacGuffins. We don't need no MacGuffins. Just go for it.
Yeah, exactly. Just bring everybody together, because that's what it seems to be doing. Is that a little bit of a Magnificent Seven situation where it's Hunter and Wrecker and Echo bringing everybody together here that they've encountered on their travels to go and try to save Omega and Crosshair for sure. But let's jump into it. Let's break it down here, and let's hit that first storyline that I want to talk about. That's the Omega situation here. Let's see if I've got some of these shots here. Omega, no, that's Cad Bane. Sorry about that. Let me bring it up here. Everything's in the dark. That's the problem here when you're looking at these kinds of things here. But what is your speculation when we're looking at Omega here in this first in this trailer here, Laura? We see her initially. We see a different haircut for Omega in those season 3 shots, but then we still get shots of her from season 2, and the haircut, as I said here, look at that looks like the one we remember from season 2. This is more of a different cut that we've got there from her, if you can see from there. So what are your thoughts here? And we see her getting scanned by Dr. Hemlock. What is your thought here with Omega? What do you anticipate we're going to discover? Because later on in the trailer, she's trying to escape. And then, of course, we see her sister. So what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think she's, you're right. She's got a couple different dues in this trailer. And I almost wonder if we're going to be experiencing not one, but maybe 2 time jumps in this season. I think we're pretty much guaranteed to at least have one, because there's one where she's got one shot in this trailer. She's got a very different sort of look. And I wonder if she's supposed to be older in that particular shot. But I think in this, I think we're going to be at least at the very beginning picking up kind of where we left off. I'm not sure if there's going to be much of a time jump from the very get-go. It kind of seems like her trying to sort of reach out to Crosshair in whatever way she can is going to be sort of a main objective. But I think what I really would like to see is to find out a little bit more about her relationship with Emery, to see if there's anything that's sort of built there between them, and get a little bit more information, see what exactly Omega knows and doesn't know about Emery and who she is and where she came from.
Right.
So I'm hoping we get a little bit more of that. But I think in the beginning, as we sort of get into this, you know, especially that shot of like Crosshair looking so sad and so tired, that like desperation in Omega, in the sort of almost excitement that is in her face when she first spots him, is really, I think that's going to be a big driver of this season. We got some really great content with her and Tech in season 2. We got some good Tech-centric episodes, and I hope that we get to see a little bit more of that sort of relationship building between her and Crosshair. Maybe that's something we sort of lean into at the very beginning of this season. At least that would be my guess.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a shot here, Micah. Look at this shot here. What is she being scanned for? What is going on there with her there at Mount Tantus? What is Hemlock trying to find? Is that just a simple like checking in with her, or is he trying to get some kind of technology? We also, as Laura pointed out, this is a much older looking Omega in this shot. So there seems to have been some time that has passed. Certainly even Hunter alludes to it, that it's been a while and we have to go get her. And as Laura pointed out, you've got Crosshair not looking good. There's a lot of things going on for Crosshair inside of him. This is a different kind of Crosshair than we've seen before. So what are your thoughts here when you look at the stuff going on with Omega in this trailer? What do you anticipate that we're getting?
Well, I think one of the key things to keep in mind is that she doesn't look like she's a prisoner. You know, like Crosshair is Crosshair's in prison guard. Crosshair looks like he just stepped out of Andor and he's ready to jump out of the prison and like swim to shore. Like he's in prison garb. Yeah. But Omega is dressed as someone who works at the cloning facility. I mean, in the same way that Dr. Pershing is dressed, the same badge on her shoulder. So, you know, she's there. She's primarily there. There's probably other secrets to be revealed, but the way it was set up at the end of last season with Hemlock, she's primarily there to get Nala Se. Nala Se?
Yeah, Nala Se.
Yeah. She's primarily there to keep Nala Se in line so that Nala Se like does what she needs to do with the cloning. Like, so she's kind of a chip that Hemlock can use, but it does look like she's working in the facility. She looks like she has a little bit more freedom of movement. So it's going to be interesting to see where she's at, what she's allowed to do within Mount Tantus, and then how she, and to Laura's point, how she and Crosshair interact with each other. Because I do think that's going to be the most interesting thing. Yeah. But yeah, so it's going to be like, even that shot of her being scanned, you know, it's one of those shots that you see in a trailer and you're like, oh shit, what's going on? And we're going to watch the episode and it's like, please go through bioscan so you can enter the lab. And we're going to be like, oh, okay, well,
it's nothing.
That was real exciting. So, you know, like, I think it's going to be interesting to see. And, you know, I think, again, not to harp on the Bad Batch, because I am genuinely excited, but everything I'm going to say is going to be with a caveat of like, but we've seen how they trailered us before. And I do think that they're going to show us some of these things. We're like, oh, like Omega has a lot of secrets that they've been teasing literally since the first episode of season 1.
That's true.
And at season 3, it's like, okay, guys, you've teased us for 2 seasons.
Right.
Let's give us the goods. Give us the goods on some stuff here.
Yeah, and I wonder what role, as Laura was alluding to here, I wonder what role Emery Carr is going to play in this, like her sister, who is, at this point, she's just like an assistant or what have you. So there's a background research assistant. So there's got to be more going on with her and the connection. And you mentioned Nala Se. Nala Se is in this shot right here with Hemlock, the Praetorian Guards, and the Emperor. So is she playing both sides in this whole situation, Laura? What do you anticipate Nala Se's role is going to be on this before we move off of the Omega storyline?
Honestly, I think Nala Se's objectives are very pure. I think that she cares a lot about Omega and wants to keep her safe. I think that if I went back and watched season 1 again, that would probably drive that home. But now that I'm saying it out loud, I kind of wonder. I'm like, wait a minute, was that what actually happened? But no, I think that that's a big motivational, I think, component of it for Nala Se, is having Omega there. And Michael alluded to, or Omega sort of being a bargaining chip, being a tool in all of this. And I think that's very much the case. To sort of keep Nala Se in line. I don't think that she's going to be like our secret traitor or anything in this season. No. I do wonder if she'll survive. Honestly, I think that's, but also has she kind of have we thought that she died before? I can't remember if it's a different Kaminoan in this show. Yeah. But yeah.
Oh, they all look the same to you? Oh, all the Kaminoans look the same to you?
Nope. We're not doing that.
No comment. But yeah, I wonder a little bit about her odds of surviving this series, to be totally honest. So I feel like a lot of season 2 she wasn't in it. I kind of felt like forgot about her like completely, honestly. So I'm happy to see that she's back and still kicking. But yeah, I don't have high hopes for her surviving.
Back and still kicking. Speaking of that, Mike, I'll go to you in this. Is this really the last we've seen of Tech? Is this really the last we've seen of him? Is he coming back? I mean, we got that reveal at the end, and certainly we've seen Star Wars characters come back from the dead. We don't see a body at the end of season 2. So what are your thoughts on this? Is this just a memory? Well, obviously that's just a memory, but is this the last we see of him, or do you think somehow, some way he has survived all of this? And he's
I'm going to say something that is like, I love him. I think he was my favorite of the Bad Batch, and I hope we don't see him. Enough people getting chopped in half, eaten by Sarlaccs, like taken away, and then you show up in season 7 because the guild has been keeping you alive. Like, we've had enough resurrections. Let's not be the X-Men.
Like, sacrifice means nothing anymore in Star Wars.
Like, we can't have everybody go like, well, you thought they were dead, but who's that guy in the helmet? Like, I think like we need to have some people die.
Yeah. Okay. Do you feel the same way, Laura?
I do, and I thought that his sacrifice was really important, but I also thought Assajj Ventress' sacrifice was really important, and I too am sick of people coming back from the dead. As excited as I am to see her, I don't know if we need to have 2 resurrections in this one season of this show, honestly.
Fair point. Let's see what else I want to discuss with you guys. Yeah, Fee Genoa, are we happy that she's back? Michael, do you like that she's back here? Wanda Sykes doing a nice job voicing her over in the 2nd season. We saw, obviously, that Sid betrayed the Bad Batch at the end of season 2, which you saw coming from season 1. But Fee stayed around and certainly had a lot of affection and care for the Bad Batch. So do you see her being a bigger part of the season here and maybe being part of this rescue mission for Omega?
I hope so. I just feel like Fee to me is kind of like what happens a lot in the Bad Batch. Like, I feel like she's never really taken off. I like Wanda Sykes. Yeah. I like Fee. I like this whole, I'm a little bit Han Solo, I'm a little bit Indiana Jones, I'm a little like it's a very, on the page, it's like, this is a great character. I'm really into this. This feels Star Warsy. But with everything going on and her kind of showing up and then being gone and then showing up again, I feel like we only really started to get a little bit going on, like with her and Tech by the end of the season, which obviously that thread fell off a cliff.
Yeah, true.
So it's like, where are we going to go with her? But like, I like that she's around. Right. She's like, from a writing standpoint, it's one of those things where you kind of look at all the characters, you dive into a season and you're like, okay, well, what's on the table? And you're like, oh, here's a toy that hasn't been played with enough. Let's really make the most of this and do something fun with it.
Yeah, people were hoping for Sid to actually not do the thing that she did, but she did end up doing it. So, Laura, do we see Fee as maybe kind of sliding in here and being a great ally for the clones as they take on Hemlock and Palpatine and the Praetorian Guards and what looks like a clone X? What are your thoughts on this?
I think she could be a valuable ally for sure. She definitely has a lot of resources at her disposal, and she bonded a little bit with Omega, which kind of made her and Hunter had a little bit of tension, I think, because of that. So to maybe see some resolution there would be nice. But really, my main connection to her, at least in last season, was her connection with Tech. This little like romantic will they won't they going on between them was just was so adorable. It was the only ounce of romance I got in this show. In Star Wars, we get so little of it, to be totally honest. I will grasp at any straw I can. So I enjoyed that component of her, but I look forward to hopefully getting a little bit more of her as an individual now that Tech is out of the picture. I hope that they utilize her a little bit more because, agreed, Wanda Sykes brought a little something extra to the show that I really enjoyed.
I agree with that. Yeah, I like Fee in the show. I like her. When she came in, I could already tell from the beginning they wanted to do something interesting and new with her that you hadn't seen before in the Bad Batch. And I like the way she slid into it. And I agree with you, Michael. There's almost
slid into text DMs.
I'm sure must be very tough to do with Tech, but like appreciated that. No, I just mean he'd have great security. Anyway, I appreciated that. But I liked seeing her grow as the season went along. And then when what happened with Tech, I imagine that's like the final thing to get her on board with the clones. So she has like some kind of vengeance. Although we don't see that in the trailer. We see her certainly helping the clones in the trailer. So clearly there's more here to explore. But there's also some darkness as we were alluding to here earlier, right? This idea of, I thought when the war was over, this would be the end of losing my brothers. We hear that voiceover. But like there's clearly a lot going on here with these clones. How much of that are we going to experience here in this particular season? They've been experimented with. We've got Senator Chuchi here trying to fight for these rights for the clones. We've also got this other stuff going on with them trying to keep themselves alive in certain areas of the galaxy or hide themselves away so they don't get wiped out. So what do you imagine we're going to be getting from the clones here, Laura, as we go into this season 3 and them all coming together here?
Well, I'm hoping that we get a little bit of redemption maybe for some of them that have maybe some of them start to open their eyes a little bit and see what's really going on with the Empire. I think as they bring more of the actual stormtroopers into the story, maybe that will start to become a little bit more obvious. We do see quite a few of them in this trailer.
Yeah.
I would like to say that I have hope that they'll all kind of live happily ever after. I don't. I don't think that's very likely at all, unfortunately. I would love to say that they're all going to end up on Pabu and they all just get to retire there happily. But unfortunately, we see Pabu a couple of times in this trailer, and it doesn't look like there's a lot of good happening there, sadly. So I'm a little bit worried for that. But yeah, I actually wouldn't mind catching up with Senator Chuchi and her fight and see, like, I feel like that was maybe one of those episodes where everybody was like, hey, could we get back to the actual Bad Batch? Like, they weren't even in this episode. But I like actually checking in with her and kind of seeing the bigger state of the galaxy, even if it's just for one episode or maybe half an episode. So hopefully we'll get to catch up with her and maybe see a little bit more involvement of the clones in her sort of fight. It seemed to be a lot of her at the Senate and really not a lot of the people she was actually trying to represent.
Yeah, Mike, what do you anticipate we'll see? Because if a big clone army comes after an Empire's facility, it seems to be setting up a massive battle here that we've never seen, I think, in Star Wars. So this idea in terms of the clones fighting the Empire, like what would that lead to here in your mind? Do you think that's going to happen? Will this lead to a bunch of them getting wiped out by the stormtroopers who can't shoot?
If that happens, it's going to lead to a bunch of dead clones.
Yes.
Yes. We know what happens. Like we've seen Star Wars Rebels.
Yeah.
There's like 3 of the clones. It's Rex and his boys, and they are hanging out, and they are not fighting the Empire. Like we know, as much as Rex has been like, guys, we got to fight, whatever. Like Rex is going to give up, and he's going to leave with like a handful of clones.
That's true.
And then there's no more clones. Like the Bad Batch story. I think the Bad Batch story would betray everything that sort of we know about Star Wars and kind of betray like the Empire being the big bad guys that they are if the clones kind of rally at the end and have this stirring victory. Like the whole point of Star Wars is there's no victory until the Death Star.
Yeah. True.
So that's kind of the roadmap. So kind of to Laura's point, like I love the clones. Everybody loves the clones. It's I saw a T-shirt. I forget which podcast or which YouTube channel does it, but it's the George Lucas prequel apologist T-shirt. Like, we love you, George, because we now accept that he did more good for the prequels. Like, we love the clones.
Yeah,
but their story doesn't end well.
Okay,
and Bad Batch seems like we're getting to the end of their story,
and we do see like them all running across what looks like a landing field there. So it looks like a massive battle that's going on. So you might be right. We're seeing a bunch of them. What's the role here for this guy here? Mike, we get another Clone X type assassin in this shot. What is the role that this person might be playing here in this season 3? What are your thoughts here?
Well, if it's Tech, I'm going to be mad.
Right?
Like...
They wouldn't dare. If
it's Tech. Hey guys, Crosshair's a prisoner, but who's this guy? Surprise! It's Tech.
No.
Like, so I don't know though. Like it's gonna be. I that one, like that was my first. I was like, I saw the trailer and I was like, don't you Tech me? Don't you do it. So I don't know. We'll see. Other than that, I don't know who it's going to be.
Could be Ezra.
I mean, I think he's in the what is it? The closed captioning. I think it says CX1, and we sort of see, or maybe that's supposed to be him. At least I think that was the impression that I took. But could have been a fake out. Who knows? One of my favorite Star Wars artists, Jake Bartok, tweeted an image of that character and pitched that it should be a young Merrick from the Ahsoka series, which I'm like, that actually would be a really fun tie-in to sort of bring it back to that. I'm sure that's not who it is. I'm guessing it's the CX1 person. We saw that assassin clone in season 2, and I'm guessing we're going to be bringing some of that back around with that character. I don't think that it's Tech, but oh my god, if you're correct, I will simply expire.
Love that. Real quick, this is real quick because I want to get into the meteor stuff. All right, is this Kashyyyk? Are we going to Kashyyyk? What's the situation here? Are we getting Gungi? What's this? Do you guys think this is possible? Laura, what do you think? Do you think we're getting him back and being a part of this overall crew getting together to go and save Omega and Crosshair?
You know, I never even considered it because I think that's one of those shots that's kind of quick and it just kind of breezed right by me. But I have a feeling it's going to be one of those situations like Coruscant. Every time we see a city planet, we're like, oh, it's Coruscant. And it almost never is. There's always someplace new. I would venture to guess that there's another forest planet out there somewhere, and maybe this will be a new location. For all I know, it could be Tantus. We know that there's like sort of jungle area surrounding that big complex there. But yeah, I don't know. I'm going to guess no. I'm probably wrong, but I'll go no on this one. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, what do you think?
No, it's the same as like, you're absolutely right. We see snow and we're like, it's Hoth.
Yep.
We see sand and we're like, it's Tatooine. Like, I don't like Kashyyyk. Like, look, I love Gungi. And I do think I'm a little worried that we're going to get the same thing happen with this season that happened with that trailer for season 2 where we saw Gungi and we're like, oh, this is going to be awesome. And then Gungi like showed up and then was done. Yeah. Like, we're going to get like 5 minutes of Ventress and we're going to be like, cool. But I don't think it's Kashyyyk. I don't know that we're spending a ton of time on Kashyyyk on this planet or on this season.
All right. What role is he going to play, Mike? Dr. Hemlock, what do you anticipate? As I said, we saw him there with the Emperor and Nala Se and those Praetorian guards and the stormtroopers there. And we see him here looking even more evil. We see this weird kind of cloning facility. It's very reminiscent of Rogue One. So what do you anticipate we're going to get here with Hemlock? What are we going to get revealed here in this season?
Well, somehow.
Oh boy.
Palpatine returned. I mean, look, they are doing the Lord's work.
Don't they?
Doing the Lord's work to be like, to the point of it's almost like, okay, guys, like we get it. But yeah, they're really working hard to try and reverse engineer Rise of Skywalker so that you can watch Rise of Skywalker and go, awesome. Awesome, guys. Love it. They're really working at it. So yeah, I mean, look, Hemlock is there. The reason he has Omega, the reason is to make Nala Se do the work, and the work that Nala Se has to do is cloning. Yeah. And the reason that they are and if you've read the original Heir to the Empire books, Tantus was a cloning facility. Like it is a, hey guys, this is what we're doing. When the Emperor shows up in this trailer and says, this is the most important thing to keep the Empire going, he's talking about himself. So that, Hemlock is there to be the guy that is going to make this happen, or at least make it happen for the season. Like, he is also a villain that is expendable. He's a villain that you can be like, oh, you're an awesome villain for the season. And even though ultimately the Bad Batch doesn't stop the Empire, they stop Hemlock. So I think he's probably that chip that you're like, this is what allows me to be satisfied with the season, even though I know that the bigger bad guys survive. Yeah. So I think he will meet his end by the end of this season.
What do you think, Laura? Do you think that's what's going to happen here with Hemlock? What's your thoughts on him for season 3?
I think it's very likely that he could survive and end up on Exegol at some point and just continue his work there sort of behind the scenes and in the shadows. So I'm not necessarily banking on him biting the dust this season. Okay. I do like him as a villain because I feel like, and I can't remember his name now, but we had an Imperial Admiral, Captain something in last season who was kind of a bumbling idiot, and we got a little bit of Hemlock sort of here and there, but I'm hoping in this season we're kind of leaning in a little bit more with him because we can't have Palpatine all the time. I'm sure he's going to make like maybe a quick appearance or two this season. That'll be it. But to have Hemlock be our sort of central villain, and he does seem to be a very competent, and Jimmy Simpson is doing an amazing job of being this very creepy, evil character. He's just knocking it out of the park. So I'm excited to have this villain back, I think. But yeah, I'm not going to count him out as not surviving this season. I'm thinking that he's got a chance, maybe.
Yeah,
I think he's going to get chopped in half, but then he's going to show up in another series.
That sounds right. That we've seen that.
Sounds right.
Have we seen that before? Oh yes, we have. We have seen that before with a villain specifically, haven't we?
Wow, there's a lot of sarcasm dripping out of both of your all's mouths.
But like I will say, I know I'm a guest on your Star Wars show,
That's
and
fine.
it sounds like
It's
I'm
fine.
Star Wars, but like I love Star Wars. I love Star Wars, the good and the bad, but you gotta admit sometimes with the things you love. It's like when you love your family and you go home for the holidays and you're like, I love you. You're a fucking mess. Like there is a little bit of like, I love you, but boy, oh boy, there's a couple things that we need to have a talk about, guys.
Sounds like our Friday nights in LA. All right, let me hit these other two things here for you guys, and let me see what you think. We get Fennec Shand in this, and we get Cad Bane. So what are the roles of play? Remember, Fennec Shand was helpful to Omega in season 1. Cad Bane lost Omega to the Bad Batch in season 1. So what do you all anticipate we're going to be getting from this? Michael, your thoughts on these two popping in?
Here's where I get nervous about the way they cut trailers.
Ooh.
You see these guys,
yes,
and you go, all right, fucking Magnificent Seven, let's fucking do this. The Batch gets Fennec Shand, the Batch gets Cad Bane. These guys are bounty hunters, so they fought before, but now if the money's right, they're gonna do the thing, and like they're all gonna go in and it's gonna be badass. And I think everybody watching the trailer wants that. I want the Bad Batch, Omega, Fennec Shand, Cad Bane, Assajj Ventress. I want to see them all walking in slow motion like it's the right stuff, going to fight the bad guys and take some names and kick some ass. And I hope that's I hope we get something of that level.
Right.
And I hope we don't just get Fennec Shand is in an episode and was like, "Hey guys, I gotta go see about a bounty hunter," and leaves, and then Cad Bane shows up for like 5 minutes, and you're like, "Okay, well that was fine." Like I hope that we really get something special with these guys.
Okay. Laura, your thoughts on this? Is Mike right? What's your thoughts on this?
It was Fennec and Cad Bane against each other in season 1.
Yes.
So I think it's logical to want to see them not against each other in this season, to maybe see them teaming up. I don't think it's going to happen. We've seen sort of shades of gray with Fennec Shand in all of the different places she's shown up in Star Wars. We haven't really seen that with Cad Bane. He's kind of just pretty essentially evil, unless I'm not remembering. I mean, is there some arc he's got where he's got some redeeming qualities?
No, he's just fucking cool. Yeah. But I do think I agree with you. And in general, I think maybe the idea of them all teaming up is a little bit of like a fanboy fiction. But the only thing that I would point out is, in a world where the Empire is as bad as it is, sometimes the enemy of your enemy is your friend.
Could be.
Very true.
Like there is a world where Cad Bane is still a son of a bitch. He's I don't think that Cad Bane is going to turn and we're going to be like, oh, he's got a sweet side. But I think if the money's right and the Empire isn't making his life easier, I think there can be an uneasy alliance that could be really interesting. But who knows?
Maybe remember, he goes to the highest bidder. So maybe someone's paid him to do a job and it happens to align with what the Bad Batch need done. So they kind of work together with Fennec as being a, because I wouldn't want to see a sequel to their fight and then Fennec wins again. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it'd just be kind of weird because they're supposed to be badasses and let them be badasses. But if one keeps beating one over and over again, it kind of loses a little bit of the badassery. And it did enough damage to him in the Book of Boba Fett. I don't want to see him getting beat up again.
A lot of damage. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, well,
they did a lot of damage. He did. But by the way, it's Star Wars. It's Star Wars. It's Star Wars. But like the other thing I would just point out really quick is that we don't know.
Yes.
Just because we saw a shot of Fennec Shand.
Yeah.
And then a shot of Cad Bane, they might not even be in the same episode.
You're right. 100%.
Odds are they're not. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. I mean, it's not inexpensive to have Ming-Na Wen come in and voice over stuff. Ian McDermott as well. But yeah, I'm going to get to the review in one more second. I want to ask you guys this. Whose rifle is that on the end? Because it certainly looks like a certain somebody's rifle that is there next to Wrecker and Hunter. So am I off on this, Laura? Is that Crosshair's rifle? Is he back together with the boys? Is that what this is all about?
Yeah, I think it is. I think that he's maybe one of I think that maybe he gets rescued a little bit earlier in the season and that we are continuing the quest for Omega. As Hunter says multiple times, it's been a long time since we last saw her. So I wonder if maybe they get Crosshair back first somehow. But he's on the edges of this trailer in quite a few shots, including one right at the very beginning, or at least there's somebody in Crosshair's armor in one of those very first shots in this trailer.
Okay.
But he's kind of along the edges throughout it a couple different times. That's one of them where we see that rifle that you have to assume that it's his.
Yeah.
So yeah, I imagine that's him. One question that hasn't come up yet, and I don't want to. We can go back to Crosshair in a second.
Go ahead.
Echo is not in this at all. He's in one shot in this entire trailer. Yeah. And I feel like that's it. And I can't remember where we left off with him. I know that he was I'm going to go fight with Rex, but now Rex is here. So where's Echo?
Right.
Yeah.
Good question. What are your thoughts here, Michael?
I don't know. I mean, look, I think, and this is kind of, again, one of the things, I like the Bad Batch's characters, but their journey is not as interesting to me as the bigger story of the clones. And I think the bigger story of the clones is more where Rex and Echo are at. And so I am more intrigued in that. And I do want to know more. And so I'm not quite sure. But like I said, aside from Rex and Wolf and whatever the other clones are from Rebels, I don't think this ends well for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Kind of like Rogue One, right? A little bit like Rogue One, for sure. When you take a look at it, because don't we get Hauser in this thing as well? Looks like with a weird new haircut in this as well. So what's his role? Well, it'll be interesting to see, for sure. All right, let's get to it, Laura. Let's get to it. This lady showed up at the end. You lost your mind. I lost my mind. She's dancing around, and she said, "I didn't want to kill you, but you made me think about doing it." So, what are your thoughts here as we're seeing Assajj Ventress back from what we think was the dead here in Dark Disciple, and seeing her come back to be a part of what looks to be a pretty dope season 3 from this trailer? What are your thoughts on this?
I am absolutely being torn apart because I am so excited to see her back. This is so cool, and she looks amazing. Her hair, her armor, the yellow, she just is everything that I imagined she would be in Dark Disciple, and I actually getting to see her animated and come to life is so cool. On the other side of that, and I know that they got that article out right away where they were we're going to honor the stories that came before, including Dark Disciple, and that's all well and good.
Yeah.
But it goes back to what I was saying. There's been a couple of different scenarios, different shows that we've talked about where people have brought up, what if Assajj Ventress were to come back? And every time I have to be she's dead. She's not coming back. She made this great sacrifice in Dark Disciple. She's but now here we are. And here we are. I stand corrected. So part of me is annoyed at being wrong because I don't like to be wrong. Part of me is annoyed that I know that they said they're going to honor it. I'm still worried about there being some kind of, even if it's just sort of minor kind of retcon with this situation of bringing her back to life.
Yeah.
But I'm also very excited to see her because I do love her as a character. Dark Disciple is a fantastic book. So if you haven't read it, please get on it. You've got now about a month to get through it and read it. The audiobook is fantastic if that's your jam. And I'm also very excited about the possibility of future storytelling with her because I'm kind of hoping that this isn't a situation like it's going to be with Cad Bane and with Fennec Shand, where they just make a quick appearance. I hope we get a little bit of an extended arc with her. This feels like a little bit more special of a thing of bringing her back and hopefully maybe some hints of stories to come with her, because the idea of bringing her back and then not getting to see a reunion of her and Quinlan Vos, who we know is alive and survived Order 66, and in Obi-Wan he's working with the Path. The idea of not getting that is devastating. So I need to see that at some point. But I'm, for the most part, cautiously excited.
Yeah. Nick Futterman is the voice of Assajj Ventress. So as soon as I heard it, I had a reaction there on my reaction. Like, oh boy, here we go. And yeah, Michael, this is what Brad Rowell said, who is the supervising director and one of the EPs on the series. He said, we love Assajj Ventress. She's a character that we've been wanting to tell more stories about. We don't want to spoil anything, but want fans to know that any new storytelling with Ventress will align with the events of Star Wars Dark Disciple. But this is in the timeline after Star Wars Dark Disciple, this Bad Batch season 3, and she's dead. So is this a flashback? Is this her back to life? What are your thoughts on her showing up here at the end? Was this people just get people excited to watch season 3? What are your thoughts?
She clearly didn't die.
I don't
like
know.
This, she didn't die. They're Darth Mauling her. Okay. Like I've said, this is one of those Star Wars things, and Laura nailed it. Laura nailed it where most Star Wars fans, or many Star Wars fans, are at, which is this is a character that is a beloved character. She's great. I mean, one of the greatest additions to Star Wars in the Clone Wars series, going up against Obi-Wan, going up against Anakin, working with Ahsoka. She's just been a great character across the board. So had a really good, I think, powerful death in the novels.
Yeah.
But, we didn't get to see more stories with her in animation or potentially live action. And so just like with Darth Maul, who literally George Lucas chopped in half to be like, he's for sure dead. Darth Maul came back. It's a little stupid, but then Darth Maul, post him coming back, is the best. That everything we love about Darth Maul happened after he was so angry that he held his guts in. So,
that's a good point. I mean, imagine not getting twin sons. Imagine if we didn't have that.
Darth Maul's story is way better now, but I do think Darth Maul.
But did he die in Twin Sons? He's dead in Twin Sons, though, right? He did die.
Is he though? Is he?
Yes. Well, but I do think it's it's the Darth Maul problem. This didn't really happen pre-Darth Maul.
Right.
Post-Darth Maul,
100%.
The fans loved it. Let's just keep doing this. So the long and short of it is, I guess what I'm saying is if they're gonna do it, I hope they do make the most of it. If she shows up here and she's in for 5 minutes and then she's gone and we're not sure when we're going to see her again, it's kind of okay, I feel like you kind of wasted this. But if she does, to Laura's point, have a really nice arc, and we set something up for her, and we set up the potential of seeing her and Quinlan Vos together in more animation, in live action, and really giving her sort of that Darth Maul treatment. If you're going to do it, make the most of it, because Darth Maul surviving is ridiculous and stupid, but we all pretend it's not because what we got was so good.
Right. Can I disagree with you on one point though about her being dead? Because I think she actually did. I think she did legitimately die in Dark Disciple, but what they did was bring her body back to Dathomir and sent her floating off in a magical lake. So we've seen now in Ahsoka, the Ninth Sisters and these witches bring people back. I think that's probably going to be maybe some explanation that we get where there's going to be some kind of resurrection that happened. We've seen Marin bring people back from the dead. We've seen Night Sisters all over Star Wars sort of raise the dead. So I have a feeling there's going to be something there.
So let me make a distinction, because I think you're probably right, which is, it's what you said before. Yes, that is probably the explanation that they will use, and that is for sure a more acceptable explanation than angry my guts are inside me. But it doesn't take away from the fact that you said before, which is, if you read Dark Disciple, her sacrifice is so noble, and part of a noble sacrifice is that it's a sacrifice. So and again, this isn't a Star Wars problem exclusively. This is the Jean Grey problem in X-Men.
Right.
X-Men characters die every 3 years and are dead for a year and a half, and then, oh God, they're back. So it's it just kind of makes it a little bit sillier, but we've been doing it in comic books for years. So if you do it right, we'll go with you.
Yeah, Laura took what I was going to say, because her being Dathomirian, that seems to make sense. And I think what they showed in Ahsoka, as Laura referenced, makes sense as well. Plus, remember, she's Dooku's disciple, and they spent Tales of the Jedi giving us more of Dooku. So I wonder if this has been the plan for quite some time, to find a way to bring Assajj Ventress back, because they've seen the success of Ahsoka. They've seen the success of other characters that have transferred over, Bo-Katan, to live action. They've seen the success of bringing these characters from the animated series back into more of these series or back into live action, and how the fans have responded overall positively. And so I think maybe that's the approach here. I would not be surprised if they did this with Assajj. And you're right, Mike, and that's the thing at the end of the day is, look, what's the thing in soap operas? They always come back from the dead, right?
Yeah.
And comics kind of have their foundation in soap opera.
In soap opera.
Sci-fi fantasy, it's called a space opera. I mean, those are all built in soap opera, right? Pro wrestling is fucking soap opera. It's all soap opera. So, but like you said, the number one thing is if you do it right, people will buy it, people will be into it, and if you do well with it afterwards. You know?
It's only stupid if it doesn't work.
Yes, exactly.
Darth Maul coming back from the dead is not stupid.
Right.
Boba Fett crawling out of the Sarlacc pit, we're less excited about. And there's a reason for that.
I would agree with you very much. Any final words on the trailer or anything I missed that I'd bring up? We've been talking about it for like 40 minutes now, and I just want to make sure that we didn't miss anything that you all want to chime in on. Laura or Michael, go ahead, please.
No, I think we covered it pretty well. I mean, look, I'm excited to see how it all ends. And I do think Bad Batch is one of those shows that, like, when you watch it week to week, because at least in the first 2 seasons, because of the pacing, it gets a little bit like, okay, where are we going? I do think Bad Batch, when all is said and done, is going to be a really fun binge.
Good point.
Yeah. Oh, that's absolutely binge. Yeah. I do love the shots, though. I will say this. I really love the majesty of some of these shots. I'm very, very excited. The animation seems to have gone next level with some of these shots, and I'm just like so excited to see what more we're going to get as we get into season 3 and really see where they take us in the end and show us how they do the Assajj Ventress stuff. So I'm very excited to see it. All right, well, let's take a quick break. And on the other side, we're going to talk about that ScreenRant article and hear from Laura and Mike about their thoughts about who might be showing up in Ahsoka season 2 right after this. All right, y'all. Let's get into this article here. I sent it to you all. It is from ScreenRant, and I was very excited to talk about this article because every once in a while an article comes along. I'm like, oh, this is interesting to consider. This is from Liz Declan, and she wrote this article: 11 Star Wars characters who could appear in Ahsoka season 2. She prefaces by talking about all the characters that we've gotten in Ahsoka season 1, and of course, Ahsoka season 2 was just announced a few days ago. Here are some of the characters that she threw out there that could come back that people would want to see in Ahsoka season 2. Zeb, of course, from the Ghost crew, Din Djarin and Grogu, with the movie coming up as a possibility. Princess Leia, we've already gotten a young Princess Leia in the Kenobi series, so is that a possibility? Luke Skywalker, who popped up both at the end of The Mandalorian season 2 and in the Book of Boba Fett. A young Ben Solo / Kylo Ren accompanying her mom could be a really interesting thing. Kanan Jarrus coming back to be a Force ghost in some way there could be possible. Maybe you get Freddie to come back and do it. I don't know. Freddie seems to be on the outs with Star Wars, but you never know with Freddie. Han Solo, are we getting maybe Alden Ehrenreich coming back to be part of this? Bo-Katan, certainly as we go into the Mandalorian, into the movie, in the Mandalorian season 4 down the road, if that happens. Agent Kallus, who some of you may remember from Star Wars Rebels, Yoda, and Obi-Wan Kenobi. So, Laura, I go to you first. Who would you want to see? Which of these characters stand out? Feel free to talk about any of them that you want. What are your thoughts here?
Well, when you first sent this article, as I was scrolling before I got down to the count, my first thing as I'm scrolling is, well, God, like Zeb has to be in it. Oh, there he is. He's the first one mentioned in this article. Zeb naturally needs to show up in Ahsoka season 2. It's kind of a crime that he didn't show up in season 1, and for some reason he was just thrown into what was it, The Mandalorian?
People were upset about it. People were very upset about it, Laura. Good point, yeah.
Rightfully so. It was just bizarre. Now I get you've got your budget for how much you can spend on these CGI type of characters, and Zeb, I think, is almost entirely CGI, I imagine. So that is got to be hard and expensive to do. So a part of me gets it, but like, come on, we could have gotten a little something in that. Din Djarin and Grogu is an interesting one. I don't think it's going to happen because I think, as much as I love Din Djarin, and I do, he's a little bit dumb. And so sometimes it takes some time to like get him up to speed on things. And I just don't want to have to stop the show dead in its tracks to do that. So I kind of hope that he doesn't show up. My hope from the very beginning, before we watched Ahsoka season 2, while Alice and I on Force Toast were doing our recaps of Star Wars Rebels, it just jumped out to me so often while we were watching that show how much Kallus is tied in to Ezra Bridger's story. So there is no doubt in my mind that we will see Kallus in live action at some point as it relates to Ezra Bridger, whether it happens in Ahsoka season 2 or if it's maybe in this Filoni movie or even the Mandalorian movie. I don't know, but I am so certain that he will play a part in it at some point. And then my only thought on Kanan Jarrus is I don't think we're going to get a Force Ghost. I think we're going to get flashback. I think we're going to have a different actor playing Kanan and a different actor playing young Ezra. It won't be Iman Esfandi, but some sort of flashback between the two of them as we're sort of catching back up with Ezra in Ahsoka season 2. So those are my sort of initial thoughts when I first saw this.
Okay. Michael, your thoughts on any of these characters that excited you or made you consider this, or didn't want to see? What did you think?
I hadn't thought of Kallus, to be honest, and I do think that's interesting because I think it's a character that's a pretty easy, like, oh, here's Agent Kallus. He actually used to work for the Empire, but then he joined the Rebellion. He has some intel that we can. It's a pretty easy thing for like a non-Rebels watcher to go, oh, okay, cool. He was a defector. I got it. Zeb is obviously showing up. Like, they didn't build the whole fucking CG model for Mando season 3 just to use him for 2 seconds. Like, he's coming into the show. Like, he's gonna be around. Kanan. So in the world, so then I think you get into like 3 separate buckets. I think you get into Force Ghost bucket. I think you get into original trilogy legacy character bucket. And then you get into novel bucket, which she didn't really touch. So like in Force Ghost, Kanan showing up makes sense.
Right.
Like we've got Jason. We've explained that Jason's dad was a great Jedi, slept with Hera. Jason's the son. He also trained Ezra. Ezra and Jason are obviously going to have this bond. So seeing Kanan either show up as a Force Ghost to guide Ezra and say, I want you to teach my son, or to see him in flashbacks, seems like, since this is like a Rebels love letter show, something that is I'd put the chances pretty high.
Yeah.
Look, Ewan McGregor's around.
He's
around. And Yoda is just a puppet on a wall. So, either one of them, like Ahsoka is on this planet. We're going to be dealing with some major Force shit.
Yeah.
We've already got Anakin's ghost watching over her. Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka being together, even if 2 of them are like there seems to be a lot of that is a Star Wars nerdgasm waiting to happen.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't count any of that. I think, and I used to not say this, and I'm going to lean over to John's side of things now. Like, I don't know how you tell a giant story about Thrawn ultimately almost stopping the New Republic and all of them having to band together to stop him and just keep saying, hey, C-3PO has a message from Leia.
Yes. Thank you.
Like, at a certain point, if we're going to keep telling these stories, someone's got to play Leia.
Yes.
Like, you've got, like I think that it actually, I love Carrie Fisher as much as anybody, and she will always be all of our princess.
Sure.
But to tell an entire story, especially going into a movie, about how the New Republic battled Thrawn and the remnants of the Empire and stopped them so that they could build their New Republic, and just keep going, Leia sent an email. Check out Leia's email. Like, you can't, like, and similarly with Luke. I mean, as we're going to get into the building of this Jedi temple that is ultimately destined to failure, it's like, yeah, you can keep doing what you did in Mandalorian, which some people love and some people don't. But I think, at a certain point, we just have to go, here is the new Han, Luke, and Leia who are going to show up. I think you just have to at some point.
I've said this, I think they've firmly been building up to that. They've been slowly getting us used to it ever since Carrie Fisher died. They probably had plans even before Carrie Fisher died, because of course Carrie had some stuff going on there. But I think Carrie Fisher would be the first one to be like, fuck yeah, recast me.
Honestly,
it's not
Carrie
a big
Fisher
deal.
is in heaven. Carrie Fisher is in heaven right now being like, will you fucking cast somebody else, please?
Yeah, please. Let my soul be at rest, for God's sakes. And Harrison doesn't care because he cares more about the Indiana Jones character, it seems, than the Han Solo, because he said, I'm Indiana. No one else can play Indiana. So, he didn't. I don't think he'd feel that way about Han. Clearly, Alden, and he gave his blessing to Alden. So we might see Alden pop up. We might see Lando pop up, which would be interesting, I think, as a Donald Glover connection, if they want to use that to launch it down the road, which Kathleen keeps saying is going to happen. I think that's possible. Absolutely, Leia should show up in some form with maybe Ben. I don't know. That could be interesting. It'd be nice to see them happy, like the family happy, because all we have is them being negative and unhappy unless you read the other stuff, the books or whatever that are canon and not canon. So those are the things that are frustrating. So I would like to see them all appear. Obviously, they're not. I don't know how they're going to interact in whatever, but I'd like to see them be a part of it. If you're going to recast, I don't know if Ahsoka season 2 is where you launch the recast, but maybe. So I don't know.
Well, I think what you do. I mean, again, this is okay. So two things to what you said. A, I think Alden at some point is going to get the Hayden Christensen treatment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that if you go back and watch Solo now, you go back and watch Solo now.
Yeah,
it's a solid movie. It's a good Star Wars. Like, it's good. Like, there's a lot to like about it, and I think him showing up somewhere I think if in Ahsoka season 2, I don't think you do an entire Han Leia arc. Like, it needs to be Ahsoka's and Ezra's and Sabine's and Thrawn's story. But I think you have a moment where a new Princess Leia walks in, and then as she's leaving, Alden walks up and says, "Hey, princess," and the entire internet loses their shit. And then they're set up for the movie. And here's where I think the recasting of them is important, and this leads to my third bucket, which is the movie that Filoni is doing is Heir to the Empire.
Right.
It might not be called Heir to the Empire, and it might be something but it's his version of, hey, the Empire has this Grand Admiral named Thrawn. He's super dangerous. We're going to lose. So I think obviously Ahsoka, Sabine, Ezra, Hera, are going to pick up a lot of the story that went to Luke and Han and Leia in those books. But I think Luke and Han and Leia being a part of that is important, and I think they should be. And then I also think the other thing that she didn't mention in the article, but I think is worth mentioning, is we've already seen Captain Pelion in Mandalorian,
good point.
who is the very first character mentioned in Heir to the Empire and Thrawn's right-hand man.
Right.
So I think he's a definite that we're going to see pick back up. And then I would look at Heir to the Empire, characters like the smuggler Talon Card, or Mara Jade, who might not end up being Luke's girlfriend, but is a huge character in sort of the expanded universe.
You might have triggered Laura with Mara Jade there, Michael. Be careful.
I'm just saying, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some of these other new characters that were original to the novels start to show up.
Certainly. I mean, why not? Filoni loves those novels, and so it wouldn't be surprising to see MJ show up in this situation. Laura, any reactions to what Michael said here in this?
Don't put that out in the universe, please. I just don't need it. I do think, though, you guys are talking about recasting these legacy characters, and I think I've said it before, and I'll say it again. It needs to happen, especially if you're going to blow your entire graphics budget on bringing Zeb to life. So let's just bite the bullet. Let's just get that actor that looks a lot like a young Mark Hamill, who is in the not Mandalorian. I'm sorry. I guess, he was a Mandalorian, but he was in Book of Boba Fett playing Luke. Yeah. All CGI'd the fuck up for no reason. Give me the reason. I don't understand. So I'm hoping that we can lean into that. Let's bring Alden back. Let's get somebody in to play Leia in this era. Ben Solo would be fun. I love adult Ben Solo. I love Kylo Ren. I don't necessarily need to see him as a kid in this, but I wouldn't be surprised if he showed up. Yeah,
it might make you feel a little bit softer about it, because I know Adam said he's not coming back. Adam said very clearly, I'm not coming back, but you never know. And so it could be interesting to...
By the way, I would pay good money to have Adam Driver show up and play a 10-year-old Ben Solo.
Like that baby sketch. Like that baby sketch on SNL. Just his head through.
I love it. He's a great actor.
He is a great... I can't deny it. One thing I do want to say at the end that Liz brought up in her article that I thought was really sweet, and I didn't consider the possibility, is because if we got that closure with Hayden in season 1, is there a possibility where we get Kenobi and Anakin Force Ghost with Ahsoka? Is there a reunion there that you could have in season 2? I think if you can make that work, I think that would be great. But I don't know if you could make that work. But if you could,
look, I think if we're getting into the Mortis arc shit and we're on this crazy planet that is clearly majorly tied to the Force and the father and the son and the daughter, it kind of is like all bets are off. Like I think it was the Mortis arc in Clone Wars where Liam Neeson first showed up to revoice Qui-Gon Jinn.
Right. Yes.
Like, so it as cheesy as it all is and silly and as soap opera and space opera as it is, like you said, John, Ahsoka and Anakin and Obi-Wan all having a conversation together is kind of like, it's like all the years that we were like, wouldn't it be great if Ahsoka and Luke could be together? Right. And then when we finally got it, we were like, fuck, yes, great. And it kind of feels like that's something that Filoni would want to do. Yeah.
And exactly. Yeah. It could be very interesting to see that. Especially if you got the Luke involved in it. Anyway, just throwing it out there. All right. Well, then, any final thoughts on this? Are we good? Any other characters you guys want to throw in there before we wrap up?
No, nothing to add.
No, it's just Star Wars is wild, man. Star Wars is it is so ridiculous and so silly, and I love it so much.
That should be the T-shirt. Star Wars is wild, man. But shout out to Liz Declan, great article, and thank you so much for writing it because we got to use it here on the show. We appreciate you guys. Take a look at that one on ScreenRant. All right, there you go. We should wrap it up. We're over an hour. We don't like to do over an hour, so let's wrap it up there. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us and watching this episode of the Jedi Way. We appreciate it madly. Michael, thanks for taking the time. I know you're a busy dude. You do a lot of things besides the Geek Buddy, so thanks, brother, for taking an hour to hang out with me and Laura. Please let people know where they can find you and where else they can find anything else you got going on, brother.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at MKToon, MKTOON. And of course, I am all over the Outlaw Nation channel on Geek Buddies and Geek Bites and talking with John about all types of geekery every single week. So you can always find me there.
And your Strawberry Shortcake series. Why do you not plug this? And your Strawberry Shortcake series.
I'm so bad at plugging my own stuff. Yes. And you can absolutely check out Strawberry Shortcake, Berry in the Big City. Seasons 1 and 2, the shorts are on Netflix. You can also see seasons 1, 2, and 3 on YouTube. And you can also see Strawberry's supersized adventures, Strawberry Shortcake and the Beast of Berry Bog, and Strawberry Shortcake's Perfect Holiday, currently on Netflix with 2 more specials coming later this year.
There you go. Good plugging. Shannon would be proud. And Laura, another fun show. Please let people know what you got going on and where they can find you.
Sure. I'm on Twitter and Instagram at shutup_Laura, and the podcast that I host with my friend Alice, where we drink wine and talk about Star Wars, is at Force Toast Pod on Twitter and Instagram. You can find that on all major podcast platforms. That is Force Toast, a Star Wars happy hour.
There you go. As for me, at The Rocha Says on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, The Outlaw Nation on Twitch. Please remember to subscribe to the channel down below. Hit that like button. Leave all your comments. Are there characters that you want to see? Are there characters you don't want to see? Do you not want to see the recasting of the legacy characters? Let us know for Ahsoka Season 2. And what are your thoughts on that Bad Batch Season 3 trailer? Did we miss anything? Do you want to add anything? What are your thoughts on what we had to say? Let us know down in the comments section below. Comments, likes, and subscribing to the channel is how you help push everything forward here on the channel. We appreciate you all madly. All right, before we go, Laura, what do we have to tell them?
Always remember, your focus determines your reality.
Take care, everyone.